What's going on, everybody? How we are doing? I gotta say, first off, I hit my 1,000 subscribers over the Thanksgiving weekend. I couldn't be more tickled to death. Uh, you guys are just killing it for me. I love it. Um, this is coming from a guy that never thought I'd make it there. So I gotta say, thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate it. Today's video, it's been a while since I've posted, and I've been just busy with so much other stuff. You guys know how life gets in the way. Been super busy at work, then I've had things come up here at the house that I've had to spend money on, unfortunately, but that's the way it works when you own a house. So anyway, flip you around here. The thumbnail, basically I've got a conglomerate of transmissions here. If you guys don't follow me on Instagram, you probably should. It's iRockinZ87. I do post quite a bit on there. Post things from work, interesting stuff I'm worked on. I think I've come to a decision on what we're going to do with these transmissions and which one's going to go where. All right, first off, this one back here in the corner, that is a 700 R4. I haven't pulled it out to see what year it is. I traded it for a guy a while back. He was having some shifting issues, so hopefully he hadn't rubbed off the casting number on the side, so I can tell which one it is. This one here, that's Scarlet's transmission. That's the one originally out of that car. Not sure what I'm going to do with that one just yet. More than likely, I will rebuild it and keep it as a spare. Scarlet is going to take that there. Are you saying, well, they're the same? No, they're not. This is an early model 4L60E. That's what color that plug is. It's brown. This is a late model 4L60E. It's got a green plug. The wiring harnesses are different, and there's not the same amount of pins in it. So you got to make sure to get the right one for what you're working on. What I'm going to do doesn't really make much difference, but I will probably... I don't know if I can put a late model harness in it or not, but I got some ideas for this one. That is now what's called a Tremec T5. It's still made by BorgWarner, but it's a Tremec T5. Gave the guy he was desperate for it. I gave him $60 for it. Came with the bell housing that doesn't even fit. They made it fit on some other, just like a regular Chevrolet. But as far as I know, it's still good. I am going to do a video on that for you guys. A lot of guys aren't running the T5s anymore, and within good reason. They won't handle a whole ton of power, although I know a friend of mine had one of those behind a 383 and just beat the ever-living you-know-what out of it, and it held together. Of course, he was busy spinning tires more than anything. This one here is a 400 turbo. Excuse me. Wow. That's a 4L80E. And it is a four-wheel drive case. Haven't decided yet whether or not I'm going to leave it a four-wheel drive and just rebuild it and sell it, or if I'm going to convert it to a two-wheel drive. Now, there's some things that you have to do to be able to convert a four-wheel drive to two-wheel drive. The first thing, well, I'll get into that later. Let's keep going. Okay, that is a 6L80E. That is what the majority of what I build at work right now. They have an inherent torque converter issue that fails. And when it does, it usually causes catastrophic damage. And I'll do a video on that one too. That's a neat transmission, it really is. If you put a good torque converter in it, you probably have no problem at all out of it. Okay, this little jewel here is a 6L45. This came out of a 2014 Cadillac ATS with a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated in it. They use that same transmission in the turbo cars, the 2 liter turbos, which they run like a scalded dog. They're stupid quick for what they are. They also use that in the Camaros, on the 4 cylinders on the early, well, they didn't have the 4 cylinders on the early, just the V6s. And they probably would have been a 6L50. Not much difference, just a few different parts in it. That is, like I said, the late model 4L60E. Now, this one here still has the tag on it. And it says, if you look right there, 4MJD, which that's your code for what it came out of. So it's a 94 model 4L60E. So that's like the first or second year that they started using electronic transmissions. It probably would have been the second, because I know my dad's 93 Silverado had a, had an E in it. So anyway, the early model 4L60Es were built a lot like the 700s. That was their first go at it, and the input shafts were different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make kind of a hybrid out of this one. Don't mind my bench. It's terrible right now. I need to find my other input housing. I have been working something fierce to try to get my shop cleaned up. All right. Here's Scarlet's parts. All right, here's your input shaft and housing, which this housing is almost perfect shape. But if you notice the input housing on this 4L60E, which it didn't want to focus, there you go. You notice it's got the small tip on it with the O-ring that sits in there. Well, they had problems with that O-ring getting too hot, and it'll cause converter issues. So when you use a lockup converter, it doesn't want to stay there. Mind you, that's about the only thing different on the input housing. By the way, if you guys ever get wiring harnesses like this, don't throw them away, because I'm going to tell you, you could use every bit of that wire in there for projects you got. I happen to keep these, so if you can save some money somewhere on your projects, that's what you do. Alright, when they come out with the later model 60Es, you notice this shaft here has got your O-ring moved down, and they made the whole shaft diameter bigger. This O-ring hardly ever failed. So that's what we're going to use on that. So I'm basically going to make a hybrid out of that one there. We'll put some newer parts in it, beef it up, and it'll be good for Scarlet. I'll have some goodies in there. Okay, this was out of one of the 4L80s that I built, and I've got to go, I did class on that, that's why they're labeled like that. If you look at one of my earlier videos, I explained how it all worked. But I'm kind of going through stuff and going to throw away what I don't need. Debating whether or not I want to get rid of this carrier. You notice it's got some pretty good damage right there. But if I remember right, that's just for the parking pole. So it's not too devastating if that's got a little crunch in it, but we'll see how much the output carrier cost. This is your forward clutch, and of course you can see it's trashed. If you look in there, that is just beyond use there. It's pretty much done. So that drum we know we'll get rid of, but the rest of it doesn't look too bad. So what I'll do is I'll save the parts and pieces for another transmission build, because I still have another 400 case or 4L80. I keep saying 400, but it's 4L80. This one right here, that's what all that stuff come out of. And if you notice, the top ear is busted off of it. I find that a lot on guys that have done these, and I'm going to tell you something. This is important to note. There's a cover that goes right down here. It's your torque converter cover. Y'all, this is a structural part of the transmission. There's 2 bolts that goes in bottom of the oil pan, and then those are torqued also. That makes the whole bell housing as one big structure. You know, of course, they went to one-piece bell housing later on, but it has to be there. If not, that can happen. And a lot of times the guys that don't know about LS's the first time pulling a 400 or 4L80, God, I just keep saying that, 4L80E out, they'll forget about that top bolt, and of course it'll snap right off. So not uncommon to see that. So what I was thinking about doing on this one is getting a bell housing kit for it. Definitely converting it to 2-wheel drive. And that way, if somebody local here, a racer that needs one, you know, I'll have one that's already set up and ready to go, or if they want to do a cruiser, because most of the guys will put a smaller converter in it anyway. The bell housing replacement, the SFI bell housing kits, don't have allowance for a stock converter. It takes a smaller converter. But the bell housing is like twice as thick too. On converting these to 2-wheel drive, obviously the first thing is you got to get your rear speed sensor. And then on the rear, there is a plug right down there. This one does not have it. It's a solid plug. There you go. You can see it. This solid plug right here has to be replaced, or you have to drill that one out with like an 1/8-inch hole, because the extension housing for the rear of the case has a has an oil lube circuit in it. So you have to be able to do the oil lube circuit. Also on this output carrier, it will have a reluctor ring pressed on here. And that reluctor ring obviously is for the rear speed sensor, the output speed sensor. Because they also use that for the vehicle speed sensor. So anyway, I've rambled on about enough. But again, I got to say thanks so very much for you guys being subscribers and hanging with me. I know I haven't posted anything for a while, so I apologize. But it's just the way life works. I'm hoping we get through this time that we're going through right now, and we can continue on with normal everyday stuff. So I appreciate you all. I really do. Until next time, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. God bless you. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.